From being used as a slave to getting beaten to a pulp by Hank, Jesse Pinkman went through hell in Breaking Bad, and a lot of times he didn't even deserve any of it. So here are the times you truly felt bad for Jesse Pinkman, starting with the time a drug deal went horribly wrong. So after strangling their prior distributor, Crazy 8, with a bike lock, Walt and Jesse need to find a new replacement, fast. Crazy 8 was replaced by a new guy. But there was a problem.
I don't get it, man. Okay, this guy's OG.
What does that mean?
Jesus, look, he's upper level, man. He's not gonna do business with some dude he doesn't know.
Little did they know it would end up being Tuco Salamanca. Jesse was hesitant, but Walt didn't want to back down because of his growing cancer bills.
I mean, we're making money. Why can't you just be satisfied with the way it is?
Come on! Jesus! Just grow some fucking balls!
Yep, that should do it. Jesse and Skinny Pete go to meet with Tuco with a sample of the blue meth, and after taking a hit, Tuco loved the product.
Oh yeah! Wow!
This kid's like a mule with his balls wrapped in duct tape.
But when Jesse asked for the money, he didn't want to pay up front.
Fun, dude. Tuco's good for it.
Tuco then went and put $35K in the bag, but instead of giving it to Jesse, started beating the crap out of him.
Nobody moves crystal in the South Valley but me, bitch!
He was coughing up blood by the time Tuco's outburst was over. Jesse was so banged up, he ended up in the hospital with broken ribs and a neck brace. He knew Tuco was unstable, but since Walt insisted they go big, Jesse ended up bloodied, robbed, and humiliated. But we did get that cool scene of Walt blowing up Tuco's hideout, so it wasn't all for nothing. As bad as Tuco's beating was, Jesse's personal life, though, found a way to hurt him even more. Number 2. Being evicted. Sometimes in life you think you've hit rock bottom, but then you discover a level even below that. Well, that was kind of Jesse's life. He had one thing to his name, a house that he could call a home after his aunt left it to him in her will. The house was a loving memory for him, remembering the good times he had spent with her and taking care of her when no one else would.
I was the one who took care of her. I took her to her appointments and made her lunch every day. I earned this.
But when his parents found out about the meth lab in the basement, they got a lawyer and gave him 72 hours to move out. Jesse had no choice because if the authorities knew about the little basement operation, they'd take away the whole house and they would probably arrest Jesse. He begged his mom for another chance, but
Time for talking has passed, Jesse.
she slapped Jesse and kicked him onto the street. He tried crashing with a friend, but they didn't want him staying, and all Jesse was left with was the RV. I mean, at least you can sleep nicely in an RV. Never mind, it also got towed to an impound lot. But after deciding he would rather steal it back than live on the street, he jumped over the fence but landed on a porta potty. Man, he just couldn't seem to catch a break. At least Jane let him live in her duplex, but we'll get to that later. But for now, please consider subscribing so I also don't get kicked out of my house. Please subscribe. But anyway, losing a house was nothing compared to losing a friend. Number 3, Combo's murder. With Combo, Skinny Pete, and Badger dealing for him, Jesse had his own little crew. But Walt's plan to grow the business and expand into new areas brought more danger than they were ready for, and it would lead to one of Jesse's biggest losses. Combo started selling the meth at a new block, and at first it seemed like just another day of slinging until a car with 2 shady guys pulled up. Combo thought they were just potential buyers, but he couldn't have been more wrong.
What you need? Yo, you buying or you just stopping envy?
He tried flashing his gun, but they just turned the corner and stared him down. And Combo knew something wasn't right.
I got a bad feeling, man. I need some backup.
All he saw were the guys in the car and a kid on a bike. The boy circled him, asking questions until the car honked its horn. Then, the kid pulled out a gun and shot him. Combo was in shock after the first hit. He dropped his soda and tried to run away, but the kid kept shooting until he fell dead on the ground, right in the middle of the road. The killing shook Jesse to his core, as this was one of his closest childhood friends who got shot because of Walt and Jesse's carelessness. Skinny Pete was so disturbed by Combo getting shot that he quit dealing, and Badger was already in legal trouble. The whole thing should have been a huge wake-up call for Jesse, but I guess it wasn't harsh enough to get him to stop for good. Neither was what happened to his girlfriend. Number 4, Jane's death. He moved into a duplex, and that's where he met his new lady, Jane. The two quickly hit it off, and before long, Jesse was spending all of his time with her, getting high and ignoring his work.
I like to make some ice with it.
Jesse was really messed up after Combo's death. Things got even more concerning when he showed up high for a meeting and nearly cost them a huge deal. Walt was furious and decided not to pay Jesse until he cleaned himself up. But when Jane found out about the money, she called Walt and demanded he hand it over, threatening to tell the authorities everything.
What is this? What, some kind of blackmail or something?
This is me telling you to do right by Jesse and bring him what you owe him. I don't call that blackmail.
Jane and Jesse planned to use the money to get clean and move to the place where they filmed The Lord of the Rings, New Zealand, but first, they wanted to finish the night with the last time they'd ever do drugs. That same night, Walt ended up at a bar and spoke with a man about family and how important it was to take care of them.
So any advice? Having a daughter? Any advice?
Oh, no, not really. Just love them.
Walt, after unknowingly talking to Jane's father, decided to go back to Jesse's place again. But when he walked in, he saw Jesse and Jane passed out in bed. Walt tried shaking Jesse awake and rolled Jane onto her back, who began choking on her own vomit. Walt rushed in to wake her up, but suddenly froze as the realization hit him Jane was a liability, and without her influence, Jesse wouldn't abandon their business. The next morning, Jesse woke up and saw Jane's body lying beside him. He panicked and tried to desperately save her, but it was already too late. She had been gone for hours before he even realized what had happened. Jane's death completely crushed him, and he ran off to a crack house where he drowned himself in drugs until Walt tracked him down. When Walt tried to bring him back, Jesse broke down completely since he blamed himself for Jane's death.
I killed her, it was me. I got her back.
Later, we see that Walter struggled with his own conscience and almost let his feelings slip.
Jesse, I'm sorry.
Sorry for what? Being a lunatic?
Sorry about Jane.
Yeah. Me too.
For Jesse, this was supposed to be a chance at a new beginning, but instead it became one of the most devastating moments of his life. And from here, things only spiraled further downhill. Now, let me tell you, getting beaten up was starting to feel like part of the job description for Jesse. I shouldn't laugh about it, but it's true. Number 5, Hank beating him up. First, Tuco had roughed him up, and now Hank was getting closer and closer to tracking him down. Hank tracked the RV to old Joe's junkyard and was just minutes away from catching them red-handed. With no time and no other options, Better Call Saul came up with a desperate plan. His secretary, Francesca, called him telling him that his wife, Marie, had just been in a terrible car accident.
Is this Mr. Henry R. Schrader?
Yeah, who's this?
Sir, this is Officer Elaine Tanner with the Albuquerque Police. I'm sorry to inform you that your wife's been in an automobile accident.
Hank dropped everything and ran to the hospital, only to find out that he'd been tricked by a bunch of criminals. He assumed it was Jesse who made the call and headed straight to his house. Jesse saw him coming at him, but he wasn't worried since the RV had already been crushed.
You got nothing on me, yo. All right, you can call my lawyer, Saul Goodman.
Talk to my lawyer, all right? And you hear me? I got nothing to say.
But Hank, he wasn't there to talk. He forced his way inside and started swinging, knocking Jesse to the floor and beating him mercilessly until he could barely move. By the time an ambulance arrived, Jesse's face was swollen and bruised, one eye completely shut, and he looked like he'd been through a war.
You're now officially the cute one of the group. Paul, meet Ringo. Ringo, Paul.
Jesse was furious and he wanted to press charges, but Walt stepped in and convinced him to let it go. Once again, Jesse had been left broken and humiliated, and there wasn't a single thing he could do about it. Gus was preparing Gail to take over Walt's role in the meth lab. Number 6, Gail's death. Man, I love meth, and all Gail needed was enough time to learn the blue meth recipe.
However you like things to be done is exactly how we're gonna do them, period.
Once Gail had fully learned the recipe, nothing would stop Gus from killing both Walt and Jesse. The only way to protect themselves was to make sure Gail was taken out of the picture. When Mike took Walt to the lab to be killed, Walt made a desperate call to Jesse.
It's gonna have to be you.
What? No way, man.
Listen to me. You're closer than we are. You'll have about a 20-minute lead. They've got me at the laundry and they're going to kill me.
Jesse, do it now!
Son
do
of
it!
a bitch!
Do it
Hey!
fast! Do it, Jesse! Do it!
The moment Jesse confronted Gail, it was clear how much he was struggling inside. Gail begged for his life, offering money, anything he could give just to survive.
Take whatever you want. I have money. I got a lot of money.
Jesse's hand shook as he pointed the gun, but in the end he pulled the trigger. It was the only way to keep himself and Walt alive. but it was also the first time Jesse truly crossed a line he could never come back from. Later in Season 4, Episode 7, we saw just how deeply this weighed on him. He couldn't stop thinking about Gale, even seeing his face while playing video games, and he let some of that pain slip out during an NA meeting. It's not like he confessed to murdering a man, but we all knew what he was talking about when he said,
A couple weeks back, I killed a dog.
Jesse tried to move forward by spending more time with Andrea, but even as he grew closer to her and Brock, the weight of what happened with Gale was always in the back of his mind. Now, Jesse barely had time to breathe after dealing with his past guilt before another tragedy came crashing down on him. Number 7. The murder of Drew Sharp. Now, despite a few close calls, the train heist ended in success. By the time it was over, they had thousands of gallons of methylamine and the satisfaction of what felt like the perfect crime. But that celebration was cut short as they spotted a young boy on a dirt bike. He stopped and waved to say hi to everyone. Todd even waved back at him, but then, without any hesitation, he pulled out a gun and shot the boy dead right in front of them.
No!
Drew's body and his bike were taken away, dissolved in hydrofluoric acid. Todd brushed it off as a necessary move, explaining that the kid could have told someone. But Jesse was horrified, rightfully so.
The boy had seen us. And no, it didn't look like he knew what he was seeing. But what if he told somebody?
Jesse's guilt got even worse when he saw news reports about Drew's disappearance. He eventually lashed out and punched Todd, but even that didn't ease the weight on him. In an attempt to make things right, he secretly sent money to Drew's parents, though he knew nothing could truly fix what had happened. This heist was supposed to be a victimless crime, but for Jesse, it was another reminder that no matter how much he tried to avoid blood loss on his hands, tragedy always seemed to find him. After everything he'd been through, all he wanted was to walk away from the meth business for good. He even sat down with Saul to figure out a new identity and a way to disappear forever. But Breaking Bad had one final reveal waiting for him. Number 8. Finding out the truth of Jane's death. Jesse went to Hank, hoping he could finally get Walt arrested and walk away from all of it. But things quickly spiraled out of control when Jack's gang showed up and a shootout broke out in the desert. Trying to stay alive, Jesse scrambled for cover and ended up hiding under Walter's car. When Jack's gang found him, they grabbed Jesse, and as they dragged him away, Walt finally told him the truth.
I watched Jane die. I was there, and I watched her die. I watched her overdose and choke to death.
Jesse was shattered. He had already had enough reasons to hate Walter, but this one just broke him completely. From that moment on, he never looked at Walt the same way again. Losing people he cared about was just a part of his life at that point, and there was still more to come. Number 9. Being kidnapped and watching Andrea's murder. After Walt's confession about Jane, Jesse's life somehow managed to sink even lower. Jack's gang kidnapped Jesse and kept him chained while he cooked meth. After a failed escape attempt, they made sure Jesse understood the consequences when they arrived at Andrea's house. Todd calmly knocked on the door, and when she stepped outside, Todd told her he was a friend of Jesse and that he was waiting in the truck. But as she tried to search for him, he pulled out a gun and shot her in the back of the head.
Yeah, he's right over there in that truck.
No!
Just so you know, this isn't personal.
Jesse sat in the car helpless, thrashing against his restraints and screaming as Andrea collapsed on the floor. To make things worse, Todd threatened that if Jesse ever stepped out of line again, Brock would be next.
Settle down! Settle down. Hey, remember, you're still a kid.
Andrea was the only person who had given him some warmth and stability in his chaotic life, making him feel like a part of the family. And the fact that this happened just one episode after Jesse found out the truth about Jane's death made it all the more devastating. But anyway, folks, let me tell you, if you enjoy videos like these, consider subscribing, hitting the like button. It would mean a lot to us. Leave a comment if you want to. We read those. So thanks for watching. Have a great day, and bye-bye!